very welcome along to Season 5, Episode 11 of the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boylesports, Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicates Racing. Coming up on this week's show, Barry speaks to special guest SEAN BOWEN about his Jockey's title bid and his exciting book of rides this weekend. The lads look ahead to 5 key races at the Cheltenham December Meeting, as well as giving their best bets and nap for this weekend.
But this is all about Chatham Street Lad. Having travelled so strongly, he powers over the final fence and he's getting right away from Midnight Shadow. Benatar in third, then Good Boy Bobby. But as they head up towards the line, Chatham Street Lad will absolutely bolt up in the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup for Mick Winters under Darragh O'Keefe.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your weekend #5cast selections in the comments below. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show.
Boylesports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Yes, you're all very welcome along to episode 11 of Champ.ie. I'm David Byrnes, and with me this evening, as always, we're going to have Ronan Groome and Barry Doyle. Well, what are we going to be doing this week on the show? Well, I can tell you it's a very exciting show because we're going to be giving away a beautiful prize for a stay in Kilkenny, County Kilkenny, ahead of the Thyestes chase in January. And we've also got details of that, which we'll give you and how you can enter into that competition later on in the show. As always, though, we're going to be looking ahead to 5 key races this weekend. And of course, Cheltenham, some great racing over the Friday and Saturday. And those 5 races we're going to look at. 3 on Friday, the 1:15 at Cheltenham on Friday, the 150, the Mayor's Handicap Chase on Friday at 1:50, and then the Veterans Chase at 2:25. While the 2 big races we look at on Saturday, they are the Premier Handicap, the Gold Cup at 1:50. And also going to look ahead to the 2:25, that Premier Handicap Chase over 3 miles and 2 furlongs. We're with you, of course, in association with Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicates Racing and our betting partner, Boylesports. So all you need to do now is go and make yourself a nice, strong cup of tea and maybe even something stronger. Sit back for the next hour or so and enjoy the coverage. Barry and Ronan, great to have you guys here once again. And I suppose, Ronan, firstly, it's a really, really good weekend of racing we've got to look forward to once again this weekend.
Oh yeah, David, anytime Cheltenham's on, I'd say the level of betting activity and interest always seems to go up. We always love to see them run around the great Prestbury Park and lots of big handicaps and stuff to settle into. Obviously, the December Gold Cup is probably the focus of it all. It's kind of always like very similarly rerun to the Paddy Power. Obviously that kind of kicks off the season for a lot of people, so interesting to see how we can dissolve that, I suppose, and lots of other good handicaps as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to having a crack at it.
Yes, absolutely. And Barry, some really good entries. But before we get your thoughts on some of those big entries for the weekend, I forgot to mention that we've 2 really good guests as well on the show. Eddie Scally, manager of Gowran Park Racecourse, is going to join us very, very soon. And we've also got jockey SEAN BOWEN. You've caught up with Sean and you're going to hear his thoughts. He's got some really good rides this weekend. What about those entries, Barry, for this weekend? Because there is some really, really high-class horses on show this weekend.
It's great to bring in the tip man, the co-producer, making his debut. So congratulations and welcome to the show, David. Great to have you. And just in terms of the entries this weekend, I have to say that Novice Chase on the Friday, I think, looks an absolute cracker. Some really nice types in there. Kim Bailey had 2 winners today, I thought. Trelawn looked a very interesting entry this weekend. That was, of course, in the 1240. That's the Novice Chase. Not a graded event, but that's just by name. It's certainly some nice types in there. Grey Dawning, obviously Cribilly. Ginny's Destiny caught my eye, winning in Handicap Company when last seen. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this horse in Handicap Company. Gets a nice bit of weight. That's on Friday's card. Obviously, So Scottish as well. Bit of local interest to Emmett Mullins. Facker Dudery. It'll be interesting to see if both are declared. Obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday evening. If they are, So Scottish is going to have a nice light weight on his back. And we'll come on to that race. But certainly one to note, and plenty of racing, of course, in Ireland as well, and we'll touch upon that. Of course, Ronan has plenty of Irish fancies. You can see him chomping at the bit, David, to get involved with those.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing all of your thoughts on the weekend races. But look, we're going to look ahead to 5 races in particular. And firstly, we're going to kick off with the 1:15 at Cheltenham on Friday, which is the 2 mile 1 furlong handicap hurdle. And it's I think, a really intriguing contest, because Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville have got Dory the Great, who's currently in around the 3-1 mark in that. Willie the Builder is in second in the betting, currently in Panjari for Paul Nichols and Harry Cobden, and Go Dante is in there at around 7-1. So, Ronan, if I come to you first, what do you make of this? Because I thought that the Nicky Henderson runner is very, very interesting. I know there's bigger plans maybe in the future, but it's a good starting point in this one.
Yeah, you start with him, I suppose, David. He was good the last day at Ascot. It was a nice little forerunner hurdle, novice hurdle, but they all kind of finished in a bit of a bunch. And I just wondered, did the handicapper kind of scratching his head and didn't know what to make of the race and left him on a mark at 131? Not sure what to put him up or put him down even, and I'm just not sure about the form now. I have to say, David, the favourite that day, Nichols' horse in the Waterside, was a bit disappointing, and as I said, they all finished in a bunch. That said, he was coming off a 746-day break there, so you do have to give the horse a bit of credence for that, and as you say, there has been a bit of chat about where he might end up. So in that respect, a mark of 131 is very interesting, and I can see why a lot of people might think, yeah, I think he's a much better horse than that, or presume that the trainer and the connections think he's a bit better. At 7-2 thereabouts, I see he's that sort of price already. I'd probably be willing to kind of let him run at that price and look maybe further down the market. There's a couple of really interesting ones. Go Dante, you could probably make a similar case for him. And they used to think a lot of him back in the day. He was a big talky horse for Ollie Murphy. So obviously hasn't gone right for him, but he ran quite well in the Great Wood. He wasn't beaten that far. He's second run there after wind up. Race fitness on side, but the one I liked was the Nigel Hawke horse here, Dunica. I think I'm just going to back the form from this Impost Taw race all year. I just think it was a good race for its grade. A lot of novices, a handicap hurdle. They all look really progressive. Of course, Impost Taw was taken out at the weekend, but I thought that was only his fourth start over hurdles. He came up the inside that day. He looked like he was going to be well beaten at the last, but he really kept on well. As I said, the front three came clear that day, and I thought it was a good race for its grade. I think you'll see loads of winners out of it. My uncle's horse was actually in that race and ran quite well up to the last, where he made a mistake, and I'll be backing him over Christmas. He's going to run at Leopardstown St. Stephen's day, but that's Belgo Prince. But the front three came clear in any case that day, and I think there could be another race in him off a mark of 117, and I'm not surprised at all that they come back to Cheltenham to the same course and distance again. So he'll do for me, I think, around the 10-1 mark.
Yeah, well, we're going to hear from Sean Bowen later on in the show, so I'm sure he'll be telling us his thoughts on Go Dante. Barry, I know from talking to you earlier on today, you do quite like Go Dante in this one, in around the 7-1 mark. Tell us why.
Well, let's say if you were to ask connections, last year, even the year before, that Go Dante would only achieve 125 of hurdles, they probably would have laughed at you. It's an interesting little race. Just talking about the favourite first of all, David, you mentioned Dolly the Great. I know you quite like his chances in this. He's unbeaten, never been beaten in his life. He's a very likely race 7-year-old. Interesting, Nicky Henderson. Obviously, the owners, Kenny Alexander, Scottish, and the Scottish champion hurdle was mentioned in relation to him. Go Dante was the one I liked in the race. Willie the Builder, should I say, he has decent form, of course, coming into this after finishing only 5 lengths behind Lookaway. That form is obviously working out. And I just thought Go Dante, there was definitely signs of life there the last day. When he finished 5th in the Great Wood. Now, obviously, he's dropping 2 grades. He's dropping down 2 grades in class to class 3. That was a class 3 event. He's dropped a pound as well, down to 125. He's a strong stay in 2-miler, which to me, I think on the new course, more of a stamina test, the top would maybe bring stamina more into it. But he travels quite well in his races as well. I think to the second last, he looked all but the winner. First run back after wind surgery in the Great Wood. He went off a massive price, 20-1, and obviously had the cheek pieces fitted as well. They're fitted once again. Sean, we'll hear from him later on the show, is quite keen on his chances. I thought of 125, he made appeal. Given the fact that maybe Dolly the Great, this is first real test, I think, in this type of company. And also that Scottish champion hurdle might be, I suppose, in the minds of connections later on the season.
Right, let's move on because we've got a very nice race at 150, Barry, to look forward to. That's a 2.5 mile Mayor's Handicap Chase contest. And, well, Gavin Cromwell's got current favourite in the race with Lamel Mason here, and Keith Donoghue is on board, and Walking Clover, Mad About Sally and Royal Margot, they're next in the betting. So, Barry, your thoughts on this one? What's going to win it?
I was looking for a hold-up performer, and I think myself and the Golden Groom have come down on the same one here. He did send me a message just before the show, and not the deepest race, obviously class 3 over the 2 mile, 4.5 furlongs on ground that I think is going to be drying out as well, Dave. I think that's worth noting. We're not due very much rain whatsoever between now and I think it's Sunday evening. So you could definitely see good to soft ground in the description on Friday. I would say that'll definitely be the ground conditions on Saturday. That's the way I've sort of read the weather forecast on the ground. And I suppose La Mal Maison, if I've pronounced that correctly. I think I stayed in a hotel that was very similar to that up in Belfast once upon a time. We're heading to Belfast next weekend for the 2-year anniversary. So looking forward.
Didn't think she'd stay that long with you, but it's great she has. Yeah.
First run in a handicap for Gavin Cromwell. Obviously, you have to respect the favourite. Obviously, beaten 10 lengths by Found to 50. Did this Daughter of Walk in the Park really show her full hand? I'm not entirely sure. I mentioned the pace angle in the race and the ground, and that's why I've come down on Walking Clover. There's plenty of pace in this particular race, and this horse likes to be held up. She's winner of the course and distance, one of just 2 course winners in the lineup, David, and she likes to come from off the pace. She jumps well, she stays well. She's proven over 3 miles as well, which I think will help, and I think the race could set up nice for her. Triple Trade. Ronan napped it on the podcast earlier on, of course, at the November meeting. That was over 2 miles. I think that's the best piece of form on offer. Obviously, Walking Clover was third on that occasion over the 2 miles. So stepping up and trip to 2.5. Course and distance winner. I think there's a lot to like. Off 122, I'd be quite interested in her. She's 11-2 in terms of a price with Boylesports. So that's the way I'm going to side. And I think, Roland, you agree?
Very much so. I actually really fancy this mare, so it's probably a bad sign for anyone else who does as well. But she you go back to her course distance win here last April. Like she was 14 pounds out of the handicap day. Like it was a huge run from her when she beat Effernock Fizz. And she's actually, if you look at her mark there, that the technical mark she ran off was 118, but she can run off only 4 pounds higher now today, despite the fact that she's been running quite well. Like you mentioned, the Triple Trade race there over the 2 miles. That was a really good run. She was held up that day and she came through. You could argue that this race isn't as strong. So she's only 4 pounds higher. She's coming up and trip will be fine. She's very versatile, soft ground. She's won on soft ground. She's won on good ground. She's pretty consistent. She always seems to run a race if she stands up. Obviously, she unseated on her penultimate start. But bar that, she seems to always run a race. She's an absolute knock in each way bet, I'd say. And I'd be half disappointed if she didn't go ahead and win. I can see her going off favourite. As interesting as the Cromwell horse is, off a mark of 126, that did look interesting. And I have to say, when you take in the Colonel Mustard kind of how far she was behind Colonel Mustard the last day in the Found 50 race up at Down Royal, that was quite a good run. That was only her 3rd start. She got a mark of 126, so I can definitely see why she's been put in favourite. But this Walking Clover just looks rock solid to me, and so I've gone with that.
Yeah, Walking Clover, very interesting, and one that I thought might run a big race as well. Lucinda Russell's horses are, I think, in really good order at the moment, and Patrick Wage is on board. This finished 2nd in air last time out. It's in around the 8-1 mark, so I think it's a cracking each way bet actually to be involved in that one as well. So I think it's quite open, to say the least. That's 150 at Cheltenham on Friday. Don't forget as well to enter your 5-cast selections in the comments box below, because as we go along on the show, we'd love to see your 5-cast selections coming in. And of course, we'll tell you all about that fantastic prize that we have to give away for the stay down in County Kilkenny ahead of the Thyestes Chase in January. And as well as that, we're going to be speaking with the man who looks after everything down at the Thyestes, the manager of Gowran Park Racecourse, Eddie Scally, will be joining us. Right, let's move on to the next of our races that we're going to look at. We're going to look at the 225 race. And this, of course, is the Veterans Handicap Chase. And there is some great legends in this particular race. They've certainly served their connections with great credit over the years. And let's see who we're going to give the first hand to here. I think it has to be Ronan this time to guide us in the way of some selections in this one.
Yeah, I have to say, David, I found this a bit more trickier now, to be honest. There's not many of the Veterans Chase go off over this trip, 2.5 miles, which is kind of interesting in its own right. I guess the one I just kept coming back to was the Venetia Williams horse here, the Cepage. Like, could just be absolutely thrown in, really. Obviously, he comes with a few warning signs for obvious reasons. He's only ran 3 times the last 3 seasons. Like, his last 3 runs have come off the back of huge layoffs, which is kind of tells you the whole story. He's obviously had a few problems, but on the flip side, it is positive that is having a second run here after his run coming off a layoff. So that's the first time that's happened in a while. And needless to say, his form back in the day is really, really strong, and he has really, really strong form over this 2.5 mile trip at Cheltenham, which I often think is a unique kind of test. So if you get a horse that does well over the 2.5 mile trip at Cheltenham, he can keep coming back and running well. Like, you often see that over the big handicaps over this trip, like the likes of, we'll get on to the December Gold Cup, but the likes of Il Ridotto and Fugitive, they've ran well over this 2.5 mile trip plenty of times. And Cepage was one of those horses. You know, he got up to a mark of 158, and lots of his form came over this kind of 2.5 miles at Cheltenham. So he's off a mark of 137. He peaked at a rating of 158. So he's probably not the force of old, and you have to take into the equation that you know he might have had a few problems. But Venetia Williams seemed in great form. As I said, this is the first time he's got a chance to run after a seasonal debut. So if he's anyway near the horse that he was back in the day, I think he'll have a great chance here, and he'll give you a run for your money. And I think he's fairly enough priced at the moment in around the 7-1 mark as well. So that he'll do for me.
Yes, and Barry, before we get your thoughts, one that I thought of particular interest in this contest was Storm Control for Kerry Lee. Richard Patrick is on board. Ran over 3 miles the last time. Jumped absolutely beautifully through the race. Drops back a number of furlongs, which I think is going to play into the strengths. And I'm just thinking that Storm Control can be a big player. Your thoughts on this one?
I had to laugh when I sent you the brief. You said, what the hell are we doing looking at the Veterans Chase when you have the cross country conflated, of course, not declared. Bit of a disappointment for a lot of fans, of course. That's coming up at 3:30 on the Friday. But in relation to Storm Control and your question, record fresh, maybe it'd be a small little bit of a concern with Storm Control. Although Kerry Lee, her horses are running well at the moment. 33% strike rate, 2 wins from her last 6 runners in the last fortnight. So the one I like in here, I don't think there's that much pacey types in here. Obviously, they're all veterans, so that probably goes without saying. But the Tizar runner, the favourites, 11-4. It's the first favourite I'm going to tip on the show this week. I thought it was a fair enough price with Boylesports. Ligurian, the 10-year-old by Turgeon. He's probably the paciest in the lineup. Interesting that the Tizards have only had this horse a short space of time. Lightly raced enough over fences. Has only had 15 starts over fences for a 10-year-old. And you'll see a lot more exposed horses in here. And I think stepping up in trip to 2 miles and 4 furlongs again, I think is going to suit this horse. At 1 over 2 miles at Newbury back in March, has had a real new lease of life since joining the Tizards. I was running in point-to-points 2 seasons ago. 4 wins from 7 starts. Looks the one to beat for me. Cepage, get what Ronan's saying, cheap pieces on for the first time. Course and distance winner for Venetia Williams. Horses running well. Has been well supported in the market. The distance, maybe the trip, a little bit of a concern for me. I think his best form is probably over further. And you have to bear this in mind. They are 10-year-olds. This is 2.5 miles around Cheltenham. And I think Ligurian looks probably, David, the one to beat in this. And 11-4, I thought was more than fair. So they're drying ground as well as going to suit him. As mentioned, not much rain scheduled between now and Sunday, if any at all.
Well, before we speak with Eddie Skelly of Gowran Park, let's get a word from our sponsors here, of course, to Champ.ie and, of course, Gowran Park Racecourse. We've got Syndicates Racing and, of course, our betting partner, Boylesports.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullen's 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit GowranPark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
Eddie, great to have you on the show this evening. And of course, I suppose we're heading for the Christmas break, but immediately after, we're heading into January. And of course, the real big start of the racing, of course, from an Irish perspective, as we build up to the Dublin Racing Festival later on after this. But the Thyestes Chase, you know, it's always such a massive day, the race that stops the county, really. And over the last couple of years, we've had brilliant winners of the race. And I'm sure you're looking forward to another really good feature in January.
Yeah, Dave, look, it's the biggest day of the year for us, but it's, you know, we've been very lucky over the last number of years. It's grown, you know, which is kind of hard to explain why it grows the way it has, but it's become the biggest standalone fixture in Irish racing, which is brilliant for us at Gowran Park to, you know, to host it, because that's what we do really. And it's our big day, but it's a massive historic racing day. But like, as Barry, you'd know, of coming from this area as well, it's a day that we're all so proud of down here. And it's just on the calendar. People kind of, I think there's enough a gap from Christmas that people can start being hungry again, and the few bob is back in the bank, and we're ready to take it off them here in Gowran Park on Thyestes Day every year. And look, I really can't wait. I mean, it's from today really the planning starts pushing on. I'm meeting with Goffs tomorrow, and it's a massive time for them as well. They're huge sponsors for the race, so it's just a very exciting time.
Eddie, from a racing manager's point of view, I've often wondered, you know, when you go to the races and you see everything running like clockwork, but behind the scenes, tell us how much work goes in the planning for a day like Thyestes Day.
Yeah, look, you know, there's a full team on it. Like, I mean, from our perspective, now it's kind of all the sales and marketing side of the things. We're very, very lucky. The corporate hospitality is completely sold out already for the day, so we don't have to worry about that side of the business. So it's all about general admission tickets, early bird offers. We try and get as much online early, and that's, you know, for two reasons. Number one, it's obviously we want to get the tickets sold, but more importantly for us is we don't want massive queues paying at gates and stuff. It's much easier if people buy tickets online. It's easier for us to manage. So that's happening now. Once we get into the new year, you know, Joe looks after our full traffic management plan with the Gardaí, all the car park side of things. But it's all of that stuff you don't expect. People think we just kind of, that's the peripheral stuff. You're dealing with Gardaí, bars, restaurants, all of that stuff. Because, you know, today in Gowran Park, there's 50 people here. On Thyestes, there's 10,000. And that's a switch that gets clicked overnight. So you need all of these things to click into place. But the big thing that we're working on at the moment, sales and marketing side, is massive. And the other side that's massive is what's going on our racecourse at the moment. Razzie and the lads finished shaping all the fences yesterday, so they all got covered and they've got their winter blankets on there now, preparing for, regardless of what comes, whether it's snow or rain. Ours are all wrapped up now, ready to go. So the covers will come off them the week before the Thyestes, let a bit of light into them. If we've any issues with ground concerns, say a bit of snow or frost, the frost covers will come down. They're a nightmare. There's no two ways around it. If you're putting out frost covers, it's everything about it. You don't get sleep from the minute you start putting frost covers out till the races. It's terrible, but it all comes together. Like, this is my 13th Thyestes, and touch wood, it won't be unlucky for some. But the biggest problem for me this year is we undertook a new weigh room build over the last 8 months, and you know, we knew the day we started the construction. I said to one of the lads, I said, you do know that the day that this will open now will be Thyestes Day. So as luck would have it, the builders are going to be handing over the building to me next week, and Goffs Thyestes Day is there. We're going to find out if the weigh room works or not. So I can't do a mock-up because I can't have a false race day. So it's a state-of-the-art building. It looks great, but I won't know if it's all perfect till the day.
Yeah, well, that's going to be very interesting, I'm sure, for you and the team there. Eddie, tell us about the offers, the tickets, the early bird tickets. And, you know, as it's a great way for, you know, racing enthusiasts coming up to Christmas. You could have a dad or a granddad or even a mum or anyone that wants to go racing. It's a really good Christmas present. How can people avail of the early bird package?
The early bird package it's all online, David. It's www.gowranpark.ie. tickets are reduced right down, €15 for OAPs and students, €20 for your standard general admission ticket, which is exceptional value. I mean, there's an awful lot happening on the day aside from the racing, so they're there now. And our racing club membership offer as well, on a separate note, is I think it's the best value membership offer in Irish racing. It's €100 for racing membership in Gowran Park, where you're guaranteed 18 fixtures a year. It's an absolute no-brainer. If you have a mum or a dad that's into racing and you're looking to get a nice Christmas present, I don't think there's anything better. I mean, it's 18 days out, but the one thing I would say to anyone that's watching this that's never been to Thyestes Day at Gowran Park, I mean, it speaks for itself. You look at, like, we put up stuff on Facebook and Twitter, and the comments that come back are always the same. It's all everyone saying how much of a good day out. It's just old school crack. The racing's front and center, and it's just a brilliant day out, brilliant cultural day, like.
Well, what about the news then? We have to bring all the people watching this show, because Barry, I'm going to bring you in. You and Eddie have been, doing a bit of planning in the background, a few calls here and there to each other, and you've come up with this fantastic prize that we're going to give away here in Champ.ie.
Could be off to Langton's. Could be a late night for whoever wins the prize. Eddie has been very, very generous. Of course, got on to Langton's themselves, and it's been a while since I've been in Langton's, but I wouldn't mind this. It's an overnight stay, of course, which would include, it's a race and stay package. And Eddie might tell us a little bit more about, obviously, the packages with the various hotels. But Langton's have been very good to put up a one-night overnight stay, race and stay package, which would include, of course, a complimentary admission on Thyestes, which is, of course, the 25th, Thursday the 25th of January. And I think for any winner of the competition, or anyone, Eddie, who's looking to, I suppose, maybe stay in Langton's that night, I think booking the Friday off work is going to be important.
It kind of goes without saying that you won't be working Friday. But no, in fairness to Langton's, they're celebrating 25-year sponsoring with us on Thyestes Day, which is, it's remarkable for a small family. Well, I won't say small, for a family hotel to be sticking with us all the way through the years. And Langton's is an institution in Kilkenny. Anyone that hasn't been to Kilkenny or hasn't been racing in Gowran Park, Langton's do sponsor the first race on the day on the card. We run courtesy buses out from the city. So if you win the competition, you're lucky enough you check into the hotel, make your way over to the Kilkenny Castle gates. You have a free bus out to the track. We'll have lots of hostelry areas for you to enjoy yourself and have a bit of fun, and you get your buses back into the city after racing. And Langton's is the place to be on a night out in Kilkenny anyway. So you have it all there in front of you. But there's lots of really good hotels in Kilkenny for anyone that is looking for accommodation. I know Eamon and Eddie told me that there's very little accommodation left. I was blessed that they threw this over to us for Thyestes Day. It's one of the days that fills for them every year. But I would recommend anyone that's coming racing on Thyestes Day, when you're finished with all the partying here, you get your courtesy buses back into the city, and Langton's is the place to be.
Certainly is. How to win the competition, David. Just to highlight, obviously the 5 cast is something that we do every single week on the show. But to enter basically the competition, we'll be drawing a winner it's the December prize, and we're going to draw the winner on the show on the 28th of December. So basically the show right before the new year. And obviously to enter, you need to enter basically your 5 cast in the month of December. So you don't actually have to win. You don't have to have 2 winners or more. If you actually enter the competition, we'll put you into the prize draw. So that's one of the ways to enter, and you'll see the other way over on our social media channels. But a fantastic prize, and really looking forward to being down there on the day, Eddie. We've lots happening, of course, on Thyestes Day itself.
Yeah, I suppose it's important I'd knock it out as well, Barry, that you guys will be doing tipster for us on the morning, of course, of Thyestes Day. So I see a lot of head shaking, but not to add any pressure, but people need to get out early, and the boys will make sure to cover your costs for the day.
That could certainly bring down numbers, not for this coming January, but for the following January. I could see a big fall off if they're depending on the tips being given. But going back to it, it's going to be a great day. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, wonderful atmosphere. I was at the Thyestes once myself, and one of the greatest days out in the racing calendar. But Eddie, not alone that, but it's one thing to have a big day at a racecourse, but look back over the years. Look at the quality of the horses that have gone to Gowran, and not alone gone to Gowran and won, but have gone on to win at the likes of the Cheltenham festivals, the Punchestowns later on in the year, even Aintree. It really is a good guide for a lot of trainers, and that's I think why you get that high level of entry as well on Thyestes Chase Day throughout the card.
You do, it's like Gowran Park is seeing both flat and national hunts. I'm very proud to be part part of the history of Gowran Park and to work here. But, you know, as a racing fan, I mean, when you look down through the winners of not just the Thyestes, which does give you winners like Arkle and, you know, right to Jack Adam, who was second, obviously, in the Gold Cup, just touched off. But you've Present Percy in the last recent past, Duvan, A Plutard, like they've all come here, they've all ran here, won over fences, got placed over fences. You know, the trainers say it's an absolutely brilliant test of a horse around Gowran Park. It's an undulating track. You know, the fences are big parkland fences. The jockeys will tell you to take jumping as well. So it takes a certain type of horse to get around Gowran Park. And the other thing that we love about the Goffs Thyestes chase, in the last number of years, the winners have been kind of higher rated than what we would have had in the past. So you end up with a potential Gold Cup horse coming out of it. But historically, it would have been always seen as a Grand National trial. It was the winner of the Thyestes automatically ended up being invariably favoured for the entry Grand National, pretty straightforward, nearly straight away. Number 6, Valverde, obviously did the double. From memory, he did the double. Hedge Hunter did the double as well, won the Thyestes in January, went on, won the Grand National a couple of months later. It's a phenomenal. And then the biggest problem for everybody is that, as Willie Mullins always points out, this is a home match for Willie. So as hard as it is to get the better of Willie Mullins everywhere else, you're racing him in his own backyard in here.
Yeah, he certainly has always a couple of nice horses on the card, and as you said, it's nice. It's nice for Willie, of course, and the team to win in their own backyard. But it's going to be, you know, we're around 6 weeks out to the Thyestes now, building up nicely to the big one. But there's some really good racing, of course, to look forward to as well between this and then. And you know, we've got the Christmas Racing Festival to come and some great stars. So for the next 6 weeks, from a national hunt point of view, and as supporters, couldn't ask for a better time really in the racing front at the moment.
No, it's brilliant. And like the lovely thing about horse racing, like I used to work in the hotel sector, and you're in competition with each other. In the horse racing sector, we're not. We're all steps on a block. So I mean, as you said, you've the Christmas festival to look forward to in Limerick and Leopardstown. Punchdown is a free entry day on New Year's Eve, which is a great initiative. Tramore, of course, on New Year's Day in Fairyhouse. But then you go from Christmas, it's straight to us, Thyestes. You have obviously the Lawlers race in Naas, as well, the Grade 1 day there. But then you have Thyestes. That falls lovely for the Dublin Racing Festival. And then what we've noticed in the last couple of years is if a horse just misses out in the Dublin Racing Festival, gets a little setback, not that we'd be hoping it would get a little setback, Red Mills falls in lovely then, you know, a week later, and there's the option there. So it's a brilliant time. Red Mills is probably the last chance before you go to the big festival in Cheltenham in March. But this is the time for National Hunt people, and, you know, let them make their hay and have a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, and I suppose before we let you go, Eddie, you know, like the Thyestes Day is the start of the new racing season at Gowran Park. But right throughout the year, you've got a really good calendar to look forward to for 2024.
We have, yeah, you know, like the National Hunt side of the business for us stops in March with the Shamrock Chase, Holden Planned Rat and Shamrock Chase Day. And then we switch to flat. We're very much a heavily pushed on flat course at this stage. You know, we race an awful lot of flat racing here. We'd be all massive flat fans. I know probably not as much as you're probably more jumps men yourselves, but obviously we love the flat here. We're hoping to make a huge announcement about one of our flat fixtures in June, so fingers crossed we'll be able to do that after Christmas. But there's big news coming in the pipeline, and then we like to think that the National Hunt season kickstarts again for everybody here with us in October with PwC Champion Chase Day. So there's a lovely spread throughout the year with it, and obviously, you know, the mix of flat and jumps, it's great to have that, but it's a really exciting time for Gowran Park. Obviously, the new weighroom build, that's a massive thing for us, the reopening of that on Thyestes Day. And then there's some big plans going to be announced as well. Some of the things with the racing programme and some of the things with the infrastructure around the place. So it's an exciting year ahead for us.
Yeah, well, we're absolutely delighted, of course, to have Gowran Park Racecourse in association with Champ.ie this year. And Barry, before we let Eddie go, have you anything else to get across to the man there before we let him off for his well-deserved dinner this evening?
Well, entries, Eddie, when can we expect to know maybe the likely runners in this year's Thyestes?
Yeah, early entries for Thyestes are around about the 10th of January. It's about 2-3 weeks ahead of it. What you will find is from here on, every single stayers chase that's ran from the Triton now, we're listening to the interviews straight after the races with the trainers, because that's where we find out who's coming, because you'd hear them being pointed out. It'll be interesting, I think, this year more so than ever, with the small announcement, the potential from the BHA, with the amount of runners that Gordon ran in the Tri-Town. It'll be interesting to see what type of entries we end up getting for the Thyestes. Obviously, we want a full field. We generally end up with a full field. But it's kind of a bit of the talking thing at the moment, the number of runners from certain yards. But I don't mind what yards they come from once I have full fields, and that's being straight. There won't be any Gowran Park inquiries into how many runners are coming from 1 yard, but it'll be interesting to see, because I think it is big news at the moment.
I think the reason. Sorry, Barry. I think the reason you asked that question is, of course, Eddie was mentioning about you going to be on course tipping some horses on the morning of the race. So, look, don't worry. We'll get you the entries in lots of time. I'll liaise with Eddie personally so we can get you those entries. Please don't stress and enjoy your Christmas, because I can see already the stress and level of worry coming in you over that tipping. Eddie, you shouldn't have said that later. You know that? What?
I won't be as bald as you.
That's a different story. Well, Eddie, listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time out to join us on Champ.ie. We're going to continue, of course, promoting and helping going to have a massive crowd in Thyestes Day in January, and looking forward to another really brilliant year ahead. And of course, once again, if you can save yourself 25% on Thyestes Day early bird offer, and details of which, and of course, the big race and the big meeting on Thursday, January 25th. So, Eddie, thanks a million for joining us this evening, and we'll see you on Thyestes Day, and look forward to getting down to see the big days racing.
Thanks a million, lads, and happy Christmas to you all, and all your viewers as well. Best of luck for the Christmas, boys.
Grangy and Patrick Mullins.
McGree has justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front and ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, silver last. That'll be the finishing order.
Boylesports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Yes, well, we've got plenty to get through, of course, on the show. We still have 2 more races to look forward to, and those 2 big races are coming our way as well. And as well as that, we have to hear from Sean Bowen, of course, who was catching up with Barry as well. And, well, he's got plenty of insight, Barry, I'm sure, ahead of this week's action.
Well, what a season it's been for you so far, Sean. 114 winners this season, 34 winners ahead of Harry Cobden. How exciting is it to be leading the UK Jumps Jockeys Championship at the moment?
Yeah, obviously very exciting. The season's gone amazingly well, and it's carried on the whole way through, really. So hopefully I can just carry that on for another few months, and hopefully we'll get there in the end.
A lot of travel involved. You're up and down the length and breadth of the UK, and what's the lifestyle like as a challenger to the for the Jumps Jockeys Championship?
Madness, to be honest. Obviously lately we've had a few meetings called off, but prior to that there's obviously racing every single day, and up and down the country, like you said, and it's sort of non-stop, but you're always chasing more winners. More winners is what everyone wants, and if you're riding them winners, it's obviously gives you a boost, and you don't mind doing it if you're riding the winners.
What would it mean to you to become champion jockey?
Massive, not till sort of the last few years when I've been in a position to sort of try and challenge a little bit. Obviously, last year was a big target, was to be champion jockey, and never really got there. Could never ride the same amount of winners as Brian did throughout the season. But this year, obviously, I'm up on numbers, and it's been going so well, and obviously it would be massive if it was to get over the line, but obviously a good way to go now still.
Let's cast our mind back just quickly to last weekend. Obviously a big double at Sandown for you. The fighting fifth on 11-year-old Not So Sleepy. Pleasant surprise?
Yeah, massive surprise really. Obviously he probably was the classy horse going into the race. He probably was the best horse in the race on back form, but obviously being 11-year-old, there was a few young guns in the race, and a few fancied ones at that. So it was brilliant. Obviously he's quite a quirky horse, but he went round sort of fairly straightforward the other day, and won it nicely.
And Booster Bob, I mean, a 5-year-old son of Molinas, an 18-length winner at Utoxeter, now 3 from 3 over hurdles. How impressed were you with him at the weekend?
Yeah, actually, probably more impressed with him than probably what everyone else seen, to be honest. We went very, very slow, and I was dropped in last, as he'd been keen in the past, so just didn't want him to be lit up too much. and travelled around nicely. His jumping got better throughout the race, and then we sprinted down to 2 out, sprinted down to last, and then from the back of last, I probably just stayed the second horse. But he's definitely a horse that will get further in time, and he hopefully be a nice chaser as well. But one thing he does do is love that sort of mud. So we'll be looking for plenty of soft ground when we come to run him next.
Do you think he could be up to winning at graded level?
Yeah, no, I do. But it'll be on soft ground if he does. So we'll just go hunting for that very soft ground if we can. He loves it, and he probably won't be one you'll be seeing in the sort of spring festivals, if it's a dry time of the year. So yeah, no, hopefully I do think he'll end up a graded horse. He's a very nice type, and the more he's done, the more he's settled and got more professional as well. So yeah, definitely one of the younger ones that we're looking forward to.
And speaking of graded performers, and we did mention Ollie Murphy, obviously Thunder Rock is entered up in the big one this weekend, the December Gold Cup. He ran some nice races against the likes of Jerry Colomb last year, the real whacker, and obviously was a winner at Carlisle in his first start. He's entered up at the weekend in the December Gold Cup, Sean.
Yeah, he was probably unlucky not to win graded novice last year. He obviously come up against all them horses you just said, which so it was obviously a good year for the novices, and he was probably unlucky not to win a nice one. So yeah, look, he's a decent horse. His comeback run was very, very good, quite impressive. Beat Mile of Mission, obviously Mile of Mission's a stayer, and we're a 2.5 miler, but he did do it quite impressively, and he's definitely a very good horse. He'll obviously be his first run in a big handicap, so we'll have to see how he takes that, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a sort of full field this time round. So hopefully he can just get in a rhythm somewhere, and if he does, he'll run a big race.
How competitive do you think he can be off 146?
Yeah, look, he probably now looks quite nicely handicapped off his last sort of 3 or 4 runs. So his forms turn out sort of amazingly well, and yeah, we're looking forward to him anyway.
You mentioned the ground just quickly for Booster Bob, and I suppose last year Thunder Rock had some decent form and nicer ground. Do you think the ground is important to him?
Not massively, I don't think. To be fair to Ollie's horses now, they seem to love the softer ground, and yeah, like you said, he's got form on nicer ground, but at the same time, I don't think soft ground will be an issue to him.
Go Dante, 5th in the Great Wood, entered on Friday at Cheltenham. He's also entered at Ascot on the 23rd. He's off 125 now, had a decent run in the Great Woods. Do you think he's come forward?
Yeah, I thought that was a very good run now, to be honest. It was his first run of the season, and he went round, travelled great and jumped great, and probably looked like he could near win 2 out and just got tired up the hill. But I did think that was a very, very good run, and he's one I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend.
Chasing Fire entered up over fences on Friday, and he's stepping up in trip. Do you think that'll help him?
Yeah, massively, to be honest. He got away with it at Utoxeter. He jumped well on the hole, but we went mad quick at air the last day, and he couldn't lay up early, and it probably just being a novice, he was slightly novice-y at a few fences just because he was flat for the boards. Definitely think stepping up in trip will be a massive positive, and he's always been a horse that Ollie's thought plenty of. So yeah, he's a grand horse.
When on the subject of Chasing Fire, obviously he was one of Ollie's leading novices last year. How strong leader?
Yeah, he's well. I actually sat on him last week, and he seemed very well. So I'm not 100% sure what the plan is. I think he'll have a few entries over Christmas and the New Year, and see what the best option is. But I thought his run at Ascot was very good He didn't jump that well now, to be honest. And if he just brushed up his jumping a little bit, he'd probably be near on winning. So look, he's obviously a very decent horse, and he showed last time that he's up to sort of that graded company. So yeah, he's a grand horse, one to look forward to over the Christmas period.
Yeah, just a couple of others that I suppose took the eye from an Ollie Murphy perspective, and you were on board. Obviously, Little Miss Dante, she's 2 from 2 over hurdles. How is she, and how good do you think she could be?
Yeah, she's a lovely filly. She's been fairly green in her 2 runs now. She was very green when she hit the front of air, and similar at Uttoxeter, though not as bad as what she was at air. So look, hopefully the penny is dropping. She one on good ground at air and one on proper soft ground at Uttoxeter. So she seemed to go on both well. I think softer side of good and probably suit her better. So I think she's getting an entry in a mare's listed race just before Christmas there. So we'll soon see how good she is.
So Carlos, were you disappointed he was beaten on debut? Looking forward to maybe seeing him out again soon.
Yeah, he did a lot wrong when he ran at Lingfield, and probably didn't run as bad as it looked, but he'll definitely improve from that experience, and he'll run in a maiden hurdle somewhere in the next week or so.
Yeah, you've struck up a decent enough partnership with some of the Irish trainers coming over, obviously Gordon Elliott, John McConnell, and one I did want to mention, because you did ride him at Cheltenham the last day, Kinbarra. He has entered up, obviously, in the Albert Bartlett trial, stepping up in trip Kinbarra at the week. Do you think the way he rode the last day, do you think stepping up in trip is going to see much improvements in Kinbarra?
Yeah, no, you'd have thought so. I thought he ran okay, and he didn't stop at all, so he hit the line hard enough. So I think he'll probably improve the step up in trip, yeah.
How much do you enjoy teaming up with the Irish trainers coming over?
Oh yeah, look, it's brilliant. Obviously, I had plenty of success doing it. So Gordon brings plenty over, like I said, plenty of John McConnell's as well, and loads of others really. So look, they're only coming over with chances. They didn't come over for no reason. So it's always nice to get on them when they do come over.
And finally, before we do finish up, is there any nice younger horses, perhaps, Sean, or maybe darker horses for Champ.ie listeners that might be worth following for the season?
Good question. A lot of Ollie's bumper horses haven't come out properly yet. So look, I suppose in Diva Blue was one that won impressively in a bumper, and he was probably a bit like Sao Carlos in that he was disappointing and did a lot wrong in his first hurdle run. So probably Sao Carlos and in Diva Blue. When they come out next, they're both sons of Blue Brazil and won their bumpers impressively. So hopefully we can do things the right way around next time.
Right, onwards and upwards we go. We've 3 down, we've 2 to go, and let's move on to the fourth of the races that we're going to look ahead to this weekend on Champ.ie. That's the 150 on Saturday at Cheltenham. It's over 2.5 miles. It is the December Gold Cup. It's a Premier Handicap, and it's a really, really good race. And Ronan, you've had time to get yourself a nice cup of tea there. What do you like in this one?
It's a really good race, David. There's it's plenty to get stuck into. I suppose it's easy to see why Thunder Rock is favourite there for Ollie Murphy, and interesting to hear Sean's thoughts as well. Like, obviously that form has been boosted significantly by Mallar Mission up at Carlisle, and he was second, obviously, or he's third even to the Real Whacker over the course and distance last season, which looks pretty good form now. He's nice unexposed profile, second season chaser. It's easy to see why he's in at a clear favourite. I suppose he's well found in the market now, and you can't argue with his price, but there's not much juice in it either. Harry Cobden's kind of set the cat amongst the pigeons a bit by deciding to ride Monmoral. Well, that's how it is at the moment. Il Rodotto had been shorter than him in the market up until that, and I quite liked him. I wouldn't put anyone off him now with Bryony on it. Bryony obviously won this race before with Frodon, and Il Rodotto's a real rock solid type around the course. I'll let Barry talk about So Scottish, because I think he's half interested in him. The one I've gone for is another one for Gavin Sheehan. Gavin gave a great ride today. Sir Edgar Wallace, I think it was. He was excellent in the saddle there, and obviously won the Coral Gold Cup as well. He's riding this Fugitive for Richard Hobson, and he's just got a really, really good record. As I said earlier on, this 2.5 miles Cheltenham, really unique type of test, and he's just got a really good record around the course. Like, he was second to Il Ridotto here last January, and then he was second to Seddon at the festival in the plate, and that's just a really good run. We see what Seddon did after that. He went to Punchestown and won, and he's been a real good horse for John McConnell as well. And Fugitive first time out, he got a bit tired late on, but still ran well in behind stage there. He's a 2-pound pull with Il Ridotto on that running, who just finished ahead of him, and I just think he's rock solid to run a big race here. Again, knocking each way bet, probably decent terms on the morning as well. I out of all the ones that were in and around the 8-1 mark, and there's plenty of them there, I just thought he was pretty solid now, so I've gone for him, Fugitive.
Right, Ronan, thank you for that. Barry, Ronan has kind of teed us up nicely for what you're going to tell us all about. And one of two McManus trained runners in the race, Emmett Mullins trained So Scottish, Joseph O'Brien trains Facker de Daries, but you obviously like the chances of So Scottish in this one.
Yeah, I really fancied him for the plate at the Cheltenham Festival, and obviously that was over 2.5 miles on the new course, should I say, as well. And this is a point-to-point winner, so he stays well. So Scottish, I think there's probably more in his favour this time around as well, given the fact that the ground is drying out. And Facker de Daries, will he run? That's, I suppose, a question that's going to keep the weight down for So Scottish if he does. He ran respectable, in fairness, So Scottish in the plate. He finished 7th and ran okay. Jumping, I think, probably will have improved. He's got a pipe opener at Gowran Park on November the 11th. And as we've seen as well with Corbett's Cross, David, that, you know, Emmett's horses are improving for the run. His last 2 runners was a winner and second with another horse, of course, that runs on the Cheltenham card at the weekend. But I thought 6-1 looked more than fair. The ground is in his favour. I think he'll stay well up the Cheltenham Hill. And there's plenty of these in here. I mean, just looking towards the top of the market, a couple of these are question marks for me. Thunder Rock obviously ran very well in graded company last year. We heard from Sean Bowen, you know, form it with the likes of Jerry Kalam, obviously. That reads well now, the real whacker as well. But for me, his jump and let him down last season. I'd be a little bit worried in a fast pace over 2.5 miles on the new course. Would it potentially, his jump and let him down once again? He's won at Carlisle, so he comes in decent form. Monmoral, first run in the handicap. He's only had 3 runs over fences, yet to win over fences. This looks like it's a target. Harry Cobden has gone for him over Il Ridotto. One at a massive price. I think you mentioned it to me earlier on, and I hope I'm not stealing the thunder now, but Do Your Job is a horse that is very, very interesting off his current mark. Dropped £4 for finishing 8th over 2 miles at the November meeting. Stepping up in trip once again. It wasn't that long ago since this horse was actually winning in graded company. He was a grade 2 winner there less than 2 years ago. 33-1 could be a little bit underestimated at a big price, but in terms of a solid bet, I think So Scottish ticks plenty of boxes for a target trainer, and I suppose the listeners don't need me to tell them that, but Emmett Mullins, I'm sure, will have So Scottish absolutely wound up.
Well, I think as Roy Keane is saying right now to the Manchester United manager, do your job. Do your job, man. And that might be just a tip in itself there. Yeah, it's a really, really good race. And you can make, look, you guys have made a really good case for plenty in this. Anything at a bigger price, Ronan, that you'd like maybe for each way punters out there that maybe, you know, something that maybe double digit odds?
There's a few, Dave. Yeah, you could fancy plenty with the course. And there's Torn and Frayed. He didn't disappoint last day, but he's a course and distance winner. Ferrero Bamboo is a horse I've always followed for Venetia. If he was declared, he's interesting. He kind of threw away the race last day at Newbury. Can Do Kid, Charlie Deutsch. You probably remember that it wasn't a very comfortable looking mistake for poor Charlie Deutsch in the saddle. He kind of got bounced in the wrong area, and but anyway, the horse drew away the race from there, and it was still a really big run. And he's ran really well twice so far, and he's unexposed over the 2.5 miles. So he was on my short list as well. I don't know if that quantifies as a big price. I think he's in and around the 12-1 mark now, David. So, but
Ronan,
that was one I was thinking about.
What did you make of So Scottish's profile, I'm interested to hear your take on this, because we mentioned quite a bit on both shows last year, and I mentioned there was a little bit more in his favour. Obviously, he's down 2 pounds from what he run off 143 in it last year, 141 this time. He's a lighter weight, and the ground, both of his chase starts have come on better ground.
Yeah, and I saw I kind of half fancied him for the plate as well, and he ran okay there. Just a bit disappointing after, and look, the run at Gowran is probably a prep run, isn't it? On heavy ground, and as you say as well, and he's unexposed, and you're afraid of your life of the connections. Of course you are. If you're backing anything in this race, and you see Emmett Mullins and JP, you're against the wind a bit there, and you're kind of just hoping that it isn't another well thought out plan, and it could well be that. So I would be, having put up something else in the race, I would be afraid of my life, something like this, so Scottish, because it could just be another plan coming together beautifully. Mark of, as you say, his mark looks appealing. It could be anything really, I suppose. I wouldn't put anyone off.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will be. There'll be lots of people peppering around the thoughts of So Scottish maybe coming to the last there on the steel, and could be absolutely anything in this particular race. Right, don't forget to, you can also enter your 5cast entries in the comment section below. And don't forget as well, if you're enjoying the show, why not subscribe to the Champ.ie Horse Racing Podcast? It's a great way. We're trying to get racing out to the general public, knowledge from the likes of Barry and Ronan each and every week, and getting hopefully some winners as well. That's the key thing. Okay, right. Our final race that we've got to look forward to then. We're moving on, and race 5 this week that we look forward to. That's the Premier Handicap. It's the 225 at Cheltenham. This is a cracker, gentlemen. 3 miles, 2 furlongs. It's going to take plenty of getting, Barry, in this 5th of the races we're looking at this week on the show.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one as well in terms of coming down on a winner. It's a lot of these. I'm just looking at the race itself, 25 entries. 9 of the 25 entries, are progressive last time out winners. So it's a tough race to kind of get a handle on. Plenty of these look open to improvement. Even the 9-year-old that I came down on, which is Houston, Texas, he's only had a handful of starts over fences, 10 starts at the age of 9 over fences. Five of those were victories. And he's a real proper old-fashioned chaser, and I'd love to see Nicky Richards come down to Cheltenham with him. I love what he done at Carlisle last time. He made it back-to-back wins in the same race. That's of course Cumberland Handicap Chase. He won it last year. He's won it this year as well. And yeah, off 126. I mean, if the top weight goes here, Protectorate. I mean, there's some gap there, isn't there? He's probably be out of the handicap, if Protectorate runs. But I loved what he done at Carlisle last time, and it was interesting listening to Nicky Richards' post-race comments, David, about how he trains his horses and how they're not used, or they're not basically they don't mind racing up and down hills. So the undulations obviously at Carlisle is what he's won there twice in the past. They targeted him last year at the Eider Chase over the extended 4 miles at Newcastle. He made a mistake at a crucial time, and I think Ricky Richards said that he wasn't quite sure that the horses actually stayed the trip. But I think 3 miles 2 coming up the Cheltenham Hill on this type of ground should be fine for him. I thought he could be competitive off a low weight, likes undulations as mentioned, and he's 9 years of age, but he's a lightly raced son of Dylan Thomas. So for me, I think there could be more to come from him. I liked what I saw at Carlisle, and I'd give him a lively each way chance. He's 8-1 on the betting with Boylesports.
What do you think, Ronan?
It's a fascinating race, David, and I think Barry's right to say it's quite interesting that there's 25 entries here. Like, I was just looking down the renewals of this down the years. There hasn't been more than 11 runners in the last 10 years anyway, and I'm sure further than that as well. It's a race that usually cuts up. Now, maybe it will cut up again, and we'll only have a single figure field, but I can't see it happening from here with that amount of entries. And loads of really interesting types, like Broadway Boy looks really progressive this season. Inch House, love the way he did at Newbury now. And he screamed of improver there. He's only a 6-year-old. John Joe Neal, lots more to come. Like Gavin Cromwell's 2 really good winners at Cheltenham the last day, Hascore Clement and Melina Girl. And what about Protectorate up the front, who I didn't think was going to be declared, but I see Harry Skelton is jocked up, and he'd be a fascinating runner. And obviously the race would revolve around him off a mark of 165. He'd probably drive a few out of the weights down the bottom, which will be interesting as well. I suppose to just I guess we're only dealing with entries, David. So just to earmark one, pending he does indeed get declared, would be David Pipe's horse, Make Me a Believer. Just had my eye on him for a while. Like, he hasn't had the run of things in the last few years. He probably had a bit of a setback, etc. But he was a good hurdler back in the day. Barry might remember or recall he was third to Adramel in the Grade 2 that they were on at Warwick there in January. And, you know, as I said, things mightn't have just worked for him since. He's only had 3 starts or 4 starts even over fences, but he did it well the last day at Exeter. That was a seasonal debut. He's winning there off a mark of 134. He's £7 higher now. But as I said, there's just a bit of backlash there, and he runs in the Caroline Tisdale colours here. He could be a classy enough type. I just like the way he did it at Exeter. He looked a real stout kind of stayer, and I'd just be interested if he is indeed declared here. Jack Tudor's jocked up on him, but he's also on David Pipe's other runner as well. So maybe they'll only run one. So if he doesn't run here, maybe keep an eye on him down the line as well.
Yeah, well, the most important thing is I think we're in for another really, really cracking weekend of racing, because we've got so much to look forward to, not just alone at Cheltenham. There's some really, really good racing all over both sides of the Irish Sea this weekend. Right, gentlemen, that time has come in the show where as they say, the talking is done, and now it's time to lay the cards on the table. We're going to start off firstly, before we get everybody's nap bet of the weekend. We're going to start off with three selections each, your best bets of the weekend. And firstly, we'll give it the floor to you, Ronan, and we'll give Mr. Doyle a little bit of a breather before we'll get into professional opinion firstly, as they say.
Yeah, so I'll bring in a few of the other action, I suppose, around on in Ireland even on Sunday. The horse I'm really looking forward to running, or hoping that he is indeed declared, runs at Navan in the 2.5 mile handicap hurdle there on Sunday. It's the Tara handicap hurdle, even the listed race. This Lord Erskine, I've been wanting to back him in a race ever since he came off the flat this season. Like, granted, people will look at this horse and think, no, he's a 10-year-old. He's not going to be doing much improvement now, but he's in the form of his life for Harry Rogers. He won a really good handicap up the Curragh there towards the end of the season, soft ground. Siobhan Rutledge rode him. Really, really strong staying performance in the conditions, and he's since run third in the Brown Lad at Naas. Again, that was a really, really good run. Like that was a race that was run at a really strong pace, and he was quite close to it. He raced in third throughout, and 2 that came by him and late on, Espinito Bello. They were that pair, the first and second. They came from way back, so they're probably, you know, advantaged by racing far off the pace, and they just came and nabbed him. As I said, he's a 10-year-old, so I'm expecting him to be a bit of a price here. I just think people will look at him and go, no, you know, just underrate him because of his age profile, but he's in the form of his life. He's a course winner at Navan, and I just think he's really interesting there. And just in Thyestes on Sunday, there's a good mare's hurdle there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Fun again. I thought she was really smart when she won the first day, and what she did in bumpers last year was quite impressive as well. So just look out for her. She could be declared for the Billy Harney Memorial at Thyestes on Sunday. And if you're asking me for my nap, David, I'll go with Walk in Clover, as mentioned, for all the reasons mentioned already, at Cheltenham on Friday. I just think she has a lot going for her, and she looks pretty rock solid to me.
Lovely. And to you, Barry?
I've myself muted, but I think we've got ourselves back in order. A couple to note this weekend. One on Friday. Obviously, we've declarations on Friday, David, and it's Astronomic View runs into 2:05 at Bangor on Friday, and Lucy Garner rides the horse 9-2 now. It's been nibbled at early, and I thought this horse absolutely sluiced through the heavy ground when winning a bumper at Exeter. And its hurdles form is interesting because Deafening Silence has come out and backed up the form. This obviously, Astronomic View finished back in third behind Deafening Silence. Wasn't beaten all that far over a shorter trip than what it's going to be running at on Friday. Wrapped Up in May was second in that race, and thought the form reads quite well. And stepping up in trip to 2 miles and 7 furlongs from 2 mile and 2 furlongs when last seen. I thought was interesting. A second run, should I say, in a handicap. It's only been raised £1 for coming on. Finished third when last seen. So I thought it was an interesting runner in that 205 at Bangor on Friday. Another one to mention in the concluding race, the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle on, and I know you like this as well, David, on Saturday, a horse called Nurse Susan. I think could be potentially very well treated off its current mark of 125. Had a spin, a pipe opener over fences on its seasonal reappearance at Exeter. I think the Skelton team could be in for a big weekend at Cheltenham. And I think stable's starting to hit a little bit of form. This was only beaten 4.5 lengths by Love Envoy, who has since got on to great things. She's up the guts of £15 since, of course, running into Nurse Susan. That was at Cheltenham back on the 17th of March, of course, 2022. That was her previous start. She'd been off the track for 613 days prior to making her chasing debut. But interesting back over hurdles, off its mark. I thought was a very interesting runner and has been nibbled at as well. That's currently priced up at 6-1 with Boylesports. So Nurse Susan I thought was interesting.
Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racetrack in the southeast of Ireland, is located on the outskirts of Kilkenny City. Gowran is your #1 choice for corporate days out, stag and hen party events, and an overall great local racing experience. Known as the race that stops the county, the famous Goffs Thyestes Chase 2024 takes place on Thursday the 25th of January.
In the finish of the Goffs Thyestes, invitation only, and Ruby Walsh on the near side for Willie Mullins' 7th win of the race. Invitation only has beaten Outfitters Opus.
With packed crowds expected once again this January, you can book your early bird tickets online today. Visit GowranPark.ie online, click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description, or scan the QR code on screen to purchase right now. Eddie and the team look forward to welcoming you all to Gowran Park Racecourse this winter.
And Patrick Mullins.
We had justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front was ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, Silver Long. Never made the finishing order.
Yes, well, there you go. It's been a very, very informative show. Hope you've enjoyed it this evening. And I certainly have enjoyed my first experience on Champ.ie. And hopefully both Barry and Ronan have got plenty out of the show as well this evening. It's been, as I said, enjoyable. We look forward to having you back next week. Enjoy the weekend's racing, because there's plenty great racing to come. And once again, if you haven't done so, why not subscribe to our channel? And of course, with your 5 cast entries this week, that would allow you, of course, get into the draw as well for that fantastic prize that we're giving away. An overnight stay to Langton's in Kilkenny. And of course, as you heard earlier in the show from Eddie Scally, you won't even have to worry about driving to the Thyestes, because there'll be buses getting you out from Kilkenny City right out to the Thyestes. So that's it from myself, David Byrnes, Barry Doyle and Ronan Groome. Until next week, thanks for listening.